If you're like a lot of witches and Wiccans out there, you've probably got a bit of a collection of oracle cards and tarot cards. And if you've only just starting out, that's probably something you're going to end up with, a collection. And they'll sit on the shelf and maybe you'll use them and maybe they'll just gather dust for a while. They're fun things to collect, but what can you do with them apart from using them as pretty decorations on your bookshelf, or to use as purely divination tools in and of themselves? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. But before I do, hi, I'm Sandra from MysteryWitchSchool.com. If you're new to the channel and you want to learn more about Wicca and witchcraft, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. So today we're talking oracle cards specifically. One way that you can use your oracle cards, apart from just using them in and of themselves to divine your future or to answer questions that you may have, is to use them in conjunction with a tarot spread. So you'll have a tarot spread and then you may want to seek a little bit more clarification about something in the spread. That's a good time to pull an oracle card, because unlike tarot cards, oracle cards tend to be more specific with their meanings. So tarot cards can mean different things depending on the context of the reading and the positioning of the card, the direction the card's facing, and all different things. Whereas oracle cards are more specific. They tend to have very limited meanings. So for divination in and of themselves, I tend not to use them by themselves because I find them sometimes they just don't seem to be relevant to what I'm doing. But when I use them in conjunction with tarot cards, they can be really, really good at honing that meaning much, much more thoroughly and more specifically than sometimes the tarot cards can. So that's one way you can use your oracle cards. And you can use more than one set of oracle cards if you're using them in conjunction with your tarot. So you may have a few oracle decks that you love. You may get 3 of them out, do your tarot spread, and then pull a card from each of those different oracle decks to help you get a much bigger picture of what the tarot reading is all about. So it's a good way to utilize your oracle cards and to also get to know them at the same time. A second way that you can use your oracle cards is when you are meditating or contemplating. So with the craft, with Wicca in particular, it is about spiritual awakening. It is about consciousness. It's about us learning more about who we are, the world around us, and going on those inner journeys. And that can mean contemplating different things. So for example, I've got a card here which is from a fellow Australian, Stacey DeMarco. Her The Gospel of Aradia deck, which is here for those who are interested. This is one of the oracle cards from that, and this is La Luna. So despite whatever the meanings might be in the deck that you're using, you can use your cards in whatever way resonates with you at the same time. So if you're wanting to meditate on the energies of the moon, particularly of a full moon, without necessarily being under the moon, so maybe it's an overcast evening and you can't get out under the moon to meditate on those energies, you can use the card as a tool, as a gateway even, to bring you psychologically into that space of the energy of the moon. Now you're already under the energy of the moon when the moon is full, whether it's overcast, whether you're inside or whether you're outside, or even if it's daytime, you're still under those lunar energies. So it's not so much that you need to use the card to physically connect you to those energies. It's that you're using the card to open up that psychological gateway to connect with those energies. So if you can find an oracle deck that has a lot of cards that maybe relate to the elements, that relate to maybe different archetypes or different gods and goddesses, you can use those cards as a gateway to connecting to those elements or to those deities. And then you can work with whatever's coming into your consciousness as you're doing the contemplation and as you're doing the meditating. You can even carry these cards with you, particularly if you've got a deck that's working with a god or goddess. You can take them with you so that you've got a way of connecting to that deity. Particularly if you're a person who struggles with visualization or connecting, you may find that having a physical card or something that has actually got a artwork on it helps you connect. It's a psychological thread to connect you. You don't need it, but a lot of people do find that just meditating on the design, on the colors, on the geometry of a really well-designed oracle deck or even the tarot deck is a way to open the gate and allow you to be able to focus in on whatever energy or whatever it is that you're wanting to contemplate. So that's how you can use it for contemplation. Another way that you can use your oracle cards, the same with tarot cards, is in your spell work. So if you're wanting to do a spell, you can either pick a card that is relevant to the spell that you're doing, or pick a couple of different cards. Particularly with the tarot, this is probably more so with the tarot because you can work a sequence in the tarot for spell work, and I think I have done a video about that already. And the difference is, with oracle cards being more specific, is you may just work with one card, but experiment and see how you go. You can use different oracle decks in one spell. So you may find that if you're wanting to work with steps, perhaps in a spell, or if you're wanting to work with something in a spell that's got a number of different aspects to it, then you can use different oracle cards from different decks to come together in that one spell. So for example, you may want to do a peacemaking spell. Having this image there on your altar when you're doing the spell is going to open the gate again for that psychological connection to what it is that you're wanting. And you can even work the imagery into your spell chant if you're wanting to, which would help you connect to whatever it is you're wanting to bring to you. So in this case of peacemaking, you might want to bring this imagery in of the two swords crossed, of the two people who are at odds with each other coming back together and reaching a truce. So this is all about using your magic to help influence events in a way that hopefully is positive for you as an outcome and positive for other people if you're working for other people as well. Another way that you can use your oracle cards is when you are working with resistance or some kind of shadow work thing. This is a great card for resistance because resistance is something that we come across a lot. We have resistance to our practice, we have resistance to our learning, and we can have resistance to doing things that we may want to do, are good for us to do in our practice. But for some reason, we feel a resistance. With meditating, for example, a lot of people feel resistance to meditating. So when you go to sit down to meditate, there may be so much resistance that you find that you just can't sit and meditate. You just want to get up, you get fidgety, you keep wanting to move your body, you can't focus. In that case, the way to work with that is to actually focus on the resistance itself. Feel the resistance in your body, feel where it's coming from, where are you experiencing it in your body, and just meditate on the resistance. And you may find that that then would lead you to maybe a belief that you may have that is making you uncomfortable with meditating. Maybe you believe you can't meditate. Maybe you're afraid of what might happen when you meditate. There can be all sorts of different reasons as to why you may be feeling resistance to something. But if you've got an oracle card there to work with the feeling of resistance, you can see the imagery there of the spear. And the spear seems to be held back too by a vine. So resistance could be other people resisting you, or you resisting other people, or you resisting yourself. And in most cases, when it comes to working with spiritual work and you're working on yourself, you're going to find the resistance is actually coming from yourself. It's perfectly normal, so don't beat yourself up for it. We all go through it. When it comes up, just get curious about it. Get curious. So there's many different things that may be in your tarot or your oracle decks that you're working with, that you can use as gateways to exploring some shadow aspects. So there may be characters in your oracle deck, or there may be symbols in your oracle deck that you can use as a gateway to look at yourself and how you may be embracing these qualities or how you may be resisting these qualities in the deck. So oracle cards can be used for spiritual development as much as they can be used for divination. And really, when you think about the tarot or oracle cards, the real benefits that we get from these things is the work that we do on ourselves with them. Spiritual work, mystical work, is really about us discovering who we really are and our relationship to the divine. It's not about being able to be psychic and have all of these amazing powers and the ability to see auras and the ability to be able to do magic. I mean, these things are great and they're certainly beneficial and helpful, but they're not the point of it. The point of a spiritual tradition is to actually discover who and what we really are, so that we can bring more joy into our lives and other people's lives as well. It's a positive, life-affirming thing. It's not something that should be focused on the dark stuff like a lot of witchcraft is focused on these days, focused on spell casting and cursing and worrying about who's cursed who and all of that stuff. That isn't a spiritual path. That is very ego oriented. So we're looking at ways to be able to enhance our lives, to empower ourselves, so that we can enjoy ourselves and bring good things to this life. So there's some ways that you can use your oracle cards. Have fun with them. If you want to use them for spell work, do download my Spellcaster checklist, and you can still use that checklist with your oracle cards. Have a lot of fun with it. If you like the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Sandra from MysteryWitchSchool.com. Blessed be.